to you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first edition of The Takedown. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me today is my co-host and a good friend of mine, Mr. Roy Costin. How are you, Roy?
I'm doing great, Mike. How you been, man?
I feel good, man. This is The Takedown, where we analyze, dissect, and decipher the news, the notes, and everything in between in the world of professional wrestling. Now, Roy, lots always goes down in the world of professional wrestling, whether it be angles, whether it be matches. That is the beauty of this fine art form that we have in this fine world of pro wrestling. So the first thing I figured we start with today in our inaugural episode, one that's really been taking the world on fire besides the return on Monday Night Raw, was everybody was talking about Asuka. And I got to say, when you think about Asuka, you think of Japan, you think of the matches with Minoru Suzuki, you think of her NXT run, main roster run. Now, she had a great match with Io Sky at Backlash. And the talks, one from Fightful Select and Sean Ross Sapp, and one from Mike Johnson at PW Insider, was that she's taking some time off, going on to Japan, maybe dealing with a family matter. And if that's the case, we at The Takedown wish her nothing but well wishes. Roy, I got to ask you to start with, what were your thoughts not only on the match, but kind of the angle with what we had, because we did have that missing ingredient with Kairi due to her release.
Yeah, see, like, that was the biggest thing that I was having trouble with is I understand you wanted to, have Asuka have that match with Io and everything like that, but not having Kairi there, it felt a little empty, but that's not taking anything away from Asuka and Io. You put those two in the ring, and anytime they're going to have just an absolute amazing match. And I mean, they proved that, they proved it. And yeah, like you said, just having Kairi not there, I felt like it would have made it a little bit more sentimental if she was, especially the post match where, they kind of Io and Asuka hug, and there's this whole, is it over? Is she retiring? And everything like that. And like you mentioned, there is some stuff that they're saying is going on, which it's none of our business what goes on. That's a whole thing for another day. That's my big gripe about that. But yeah, I hope everything is well with her. And if that is the last time that we see Asuka in the ring, then yeah, man, that was a great way to go out because, like I said, her and Io put on an amazing match. And then the emotions afterwards, you could just see it flood over both of them. So, yeah.
I will say this, Roy and I will definitely discuss our disgust of the dirt sheets at a later time, but I know what you're referring to, good sir. One of the best things I always say, never believe it until it comes from the source, but also number two, I always look at it like this. One of the best things about professional wrestling is the storytelling aspect. Like from the match in itself and the hug at the end, I agree with you about Kairi Sane and unfortunately her getting released. And we did see, apparently everybody's also speculating since she followed Tony Khan that we might be getting an AEW run. And I'll ask you about that in the follow-up here. But I think even though they were chanting, we want Kairi, and we saw everything that went into that, Asuka and Io always had that story. We've been wanting to see them wrestle for many years, and everything finally came into fruition, and they told their story perfectly, even without that missing ingredient. And I've always said this about those two. When Io Sky first came in the Mae Young Classic, and we saw what she did there, then transitioning from NXT to the main roster, you have two hybrids when it comes to the world of Japanese wrestling and women's professional wrestling as a whole. So I think they definitely set up to what would be a great storytelling start to finish, and even the exit that we saw of Asuka. And as a follow-up to that, Roy, I will ask you, Kairi Sane following Tony Khan on the socials, do you see her in AEW? I can already see Hikaru Shida. I can see Mina Shirakawa, Tekla. We have so many great women over there. What do you think about a Kairi run in AEW?
Yeah, I think that, Kairi and AEW could work out, especially it can kind of harken back to Rio, her initial run, that Japanese Joshi style and the smaller stature coming in and just running rampant. I'm never going to say people shouldn't go to AEW or shouldn't go to WWE. To each your own. Like if you want to wrestle for AEW and you get the chance, go for it. If you want to wrestle for WWE and you get the chance, go for it. It's not about the money or anything like that for a lot of these wrestlers. I think it's about the love of the game. And I could definitely see, Kyrie going to AEW. I could see her going to other places too, but I could 100% see her going to AEW and at least having maybe a year-long run just to kind of, put on some fun matches like you were saying.
I think what the greatest part of that too is, I mean, they brought in the likes of Emi Sakura from time to time, and we've gotten to see so many great people there and legends in the Joshi style. What I think a lot of people definitely want to see is because if you remember when Mercedes Moné left the WWE, one of her first runs with Kyrie, I gotta say, I kind of want to see them run that back a little bit if we get to that point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And on the other side of the coin here, Roy, I always look at it from a stance like this. To add to your point, and this is definitely a great talking point, I always go back to the days of someone who was also in AEW, Kiara Hogan. Like when Kiara Hogan first got into TNA, we always saw that video of her wanting to be in the Knockouts division. So Kiara Hogan, her dream wasn't WWE, it was TNA, and that was her destination. So I've always been in agreement too, because we see so much online chatter in the internet wrestling community about they should go here, they should go there. If that person is happy, whether it's doing the independent wrestling circuit or whatever company they're in, let them do that, because at the end of the day too, they make the most of their time, they make the money, they do good business, and that's really what it's about at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's the funny thing about when you look at something like TNA, growing up for me, it was when I was young, the WCW was around. So it was like, oh man, if I ever make it as a wrestler, I want to be in WCW. Well, lo and behold, you can't be in WCW anymore. But then when TNA came along, there's people that are, getting to that wrestling age that grew up watching TNA. So it's not like, hey man, I just want to be a WWE wrestler. It's nah, man, like TNA's around. I've always wanted to hold the X Division title. I've always wanted to participate in a reverse battle royal, like that kind of stuff. So yeah, like you said with Kiera Hogan, her going to TNA, that just made sense. And it could make sense for Kyrie. Heck, it could make sense for Asuka if we're, being that we're coming back around on Asuka and everything. If she decides she wants to keep wrestling and whatnot, maybe she goes to TNA and does stuff there for a while.
Bro, I got to tell you, you're putting the memories on him. Bro, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the reverse battle royal. I'm going to throw you in the ring, and then we're going to throw you back out of the ring, and then we're going to do a one-on-one match. Like, I get Vince Russo and all that stuff. Creative mind in his own right, may have some wacky ideas, but damn it, he's in there. I got to ask you at the same time, too, how does that work? I mean, you remember watching it. How does that work? You throw him in the ring, you throw him out of the ring, and then it's a match. But why's it got to be so convoluted, Roy?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how what the Casino Battle Royal is done now,
yeah,
it's kind of the same thing where you get down to the final two, and then it's like, okay, stop. Now we're gonna have a match, between you two, and then the winner gets the ring or whatever it was, and it's like, okay, I get it, but you might as well just call it what it is. It's a Royal Rumble, it's the Battle Royals. I I don't know. It's always been so weird having a stipulation on a stipulation on a stipulation. What's the old saying? Wearing a hat on a hat.
mm-hmm.
You're just adding stuff to it to make it more convoluted than it needs to be. Just go out there. You may not can call it the Royal Rumble, but just do the same concept. They don't have a what is it, a copyright on the concept of a Royal Rumble where one person comes however many intervals. Like, just do that.
It kind of reminds me how everybody used to get so ticked off when they did the lethal lockdown in TNA, and then WWE's got. First of all, the War Games was created in WCW, and then WWE took it on with a life of its own. So TNA doing the lethal lockdown, if that's their version of what War Games was going into their all steel cage pay-per-view, then that's their own creative concept. Like the King of the Mount match was a reverse ladder match, and they've kind of adopted that with the Iron Survivor in NXT with the Yeah. So there's stuff like that that you take something from everyone. I mean, even look at the Sandman and Stone Cold. Sandman was the one drinking beer, and then Austin took that into his WWF run. So you get a little something from everybody.
Yeah, and that's all WWE, or not WWE, but just wrestling in general has been ever since, Carnival days. Is here's a concept, and we're going to have somebody else kind of play off of that concept, and then somebody's going to play off of that concept, up until, like, what who was it, Superstar Billy Graham.
Yes.
You go back and you look at Billy Graham and people are like, oh man, I can't believe that he copied Hogan. Billy Graham was before Hogan.
Yep.
It's just Hogan got popular doing Billy Graham stuff. But it is what it is. People are going to play off and make things their own. So,
and Hulk Hogan took from Dusty Rhodes. So I mean, everybody took everything.
Everybody took everything from everybody. There's no originality. I mean, there is, but there's no originality really. You get it. You're going to have people always compare people. But I think one of the people that it's hard to compare people, like we were talking about before, is Asuka. Asuka was kind of that person when she first came to NXT, where I don't think a lot of people in the WWE fandom really saw anyone like Asuka before. Even you look back at, Bull, oh my gosh. Yeah, thank you. You look back at her, and even though, she was kind of a bigger gal, so they didn't really get the, oh, she's strong, she's fast, and she's a striker. It's like, oh man, who is this? And then you throw in the Asuka lock and the submissions and stuff, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, she's a threat. That's who she is. This is something we've never seen before. So yeah.
I think if you really look at it, to go into your point, I love the comparison of Bull Nakano going back to those matches with Alundra Braze and early WWF. I've always looked at Asuka like when she first came in and she's wrecking shop and she's going through the likes of Dana Brooke and Emma, like those really stuck out for me. And then you transition her into the NXT Women's Championship scene in that amazing run where she's beaten Bayley, she's beaten Ember Moon, she's beaten Nikki Cross, and all these amazing starts and standouts in NXT at the time. Like that reign of hers will definitely go down as one of the greatest reigns for the NXT Women's Championship.
Oh, dude, like the fact that she was undefeated, she relinquished the title and was undefeated for 914 days. Like, that's not just, hey, she's undefeated in NXT. No, this is after she even got to the main roster. It wasn't until her loss at WrestleMania 34, which I still don't agree with. I love Charlotte Flair. Do not get me wrong. Charlotte Flair, in my opinion, is so underrated. And it's funny to say she's underrated with as many accolades as she has, but she doesn't get the love that she deserves. But I will always fight against the fact that Asuka should not have lost that undefeated streak to Charlotte at Mania. That should have been Asuka's, claiming moment of, no, I told you I'm a killer. I'm here and I killed. So guess what? Nobody can stop me now.
It's so funny you bring that up because I'm in agreement with that, because that's the ultimate send right there, the ultimate cherry on top, if you will, because Charlotte Flair was this one who comes to the main roster, Divas champion, women's champion, and to have her seal of just pitting her and beating her there, pinfall submission, what have you, that would have set the tone, but they decided to go in the other direction. I think a lot of people could compare that during the pandemic time going into WrestleMania in 2020. It's like, I've always said this, and I stand on this alone here, Roy. Ripley Ripley should have beaten Charlotte on that night. Charlotte did not need the NXT Women's title, but hey.
No. Oh, that's a whole nother episode. Yep. We'll have a whole episode later about Charlotte, and we'll give our love for Charlotte, because I will go ahead and tell you, I love the lady. She's awesome. But I will also nitpick every title win that she's had especially her Mania wins, because oh boy.
Oh yeah. Now, I will say this, but I think the cherry on top here will also add to Asuka because I wanted to mention your TNA side of that too. I
Yeah.
think it's great to see the TNA NXT relationship. And I mean, you put Asuka in there with so many women on the Impact roster now. I mean, say what you will about Tessa Blanchard, but Tessa is a great talent. You have Victoria Crawford over there, Mila Moore, you got Indy Hartwell over there, you got Zaya Brookside, you got the former Xia Li. You have so many people there that really stand out. I think she would do great against those ladies.
Well, and the one that you said right there towards the end, the former Xia Li,
Yes.
I think that was because I'd have to go back because I've seen so much wrestling, it all blends together at some points. But I'd have to go back because that was one of those matches that I wanted so bad was Asuka and Xia Li. Because Xia Li came in, she did a little stint on the main roster. I do remember that because they had that cool what was it? She had like the cool entrance where she cut and the Titantron done something. I don't remember. But that there's so much possibility with Asuka in TNA. And to your point about the TNA NXT relationship, I've been seeing a lot more hesitation, I guess, coming from the TNA roster online. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but I've seen a lot of people being like, "Oh yeah, no, we're done with NXT." I don't think any NXT members have titles there anymore. I
Yes.
might.
Stacks just lost the title not too long
Mhm.
ago.
Yeah,
The former Xia Li just beat Ariana Grace to win the Knockouts title back.
yeah. So it's one of those. I don't I don't think that the TNA NXT relationship is coming to an end, but I do think that it may be taken, they may be putting it on the back burner for the time being. But hey, that might be a good way to get Asuka involved in TNA and then being like, hey, maybe now not just TNA and NXT, maybe we could do some TNA and main roster stuff. I've been clamoring for Worlds Collide where it's main roster, TNA, NXT, and AAA. Like, give me a four-post, main roster guys versus AAA guys versus TNA guys versus NXT guys. Old Survivor Series style. Just pick your top four guys, put them in a corner, and be like, okay, you're representing main roster. Go out there and do something.
See, now you're putting in my head, give me some of those Toxicas, give me some Rosemary and Alley Demon Bunny, give me all of that wrapped into one on one card.
Exactly.
And the other thing I will mention very briefly with TNA before we go into our main talking point here, they actually just did Cedric Alexander and Leon Slater on Impact, and Cedric Alexander won the X Division title, but he was also interrupted by the newest signee to TNA, Fabian Aichner, the former Giovanni Vinci. Now, Aichner has always been a guy. I loved Imperium, one of my favorite matches,
Yeah.
since you mentioned When Worlds Collide. Undisputed Era and Imperium. If you've not seen that match, go back and watch it. That was such a mainstay within NXT UK and in NXT. But when he got to that main roster and then loses 10 seconds to Apollo Crews, is still just so mind boggling the direction that they were going with that. So I got to ask you, his new place, he's no longer a model anymore. He's not driving the Ferrari in Las Vegas. He is back to being Fabian Aichner. Give me him and Cedric, make him part of the X Division. I'm here for it. What are your thoughts on Aichner and TNA now?
Oh yeah, no, Aichner and TNA is perfect fit. You've got Gunther was going to be a top guy. Like from the time he was Walter, you knew, okay, when he makes it to the main roster, he's going to be a top guy. You've got Ludwig Kaiser, who we haven't seen in like 2 years now, but I'm sure he's doing great, doing whatever he's doing. I hear that El Americano,
Mm-hmm.
he's doing pretty good. and he's got a lot of Ludwig's mannerisms, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But Eichner was always kind of that middle guy of, he's only really good in a tag team. If we put him by himself, I loved the Giovanni Vinci character. That was so fun in NXT. Him coming out and doing and all that. It was beautiful. But I knew that gimmick was dead on arrival the moment that he got to the main roster, because that's one of those gimmicks that just does not translate well from NXT to the main roster. There's other gimmicks that don't translate well, and we'll get into that at another time. But I think TNA is a good fit for him. He's not going to be a guy going after the world title in TNA right now, but nobody thought that Ortiz was going to be a guy that go after the main title.
No, that's the thing too. And I think when you see someone like the Ortizes and Santana, I got to tell you something. Mike Santana with that TNA World title, from where he was in LAX with Conan and with the early stuff with Diamante, that dude has come leaps and bounds from his AEW run to here, one of the top stars in TNA.
Yeah, and it was because he was able to break away from, Ortiz back in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that they would do more with him in AEW, but they're not going to. But yeah, like you said with Santana, which I did have that slip, but Santana, he came in and everybody's like, oh yeah, this guy, his ceiling is like right here, and he might win the X Division title. But no, he proved himself, and I think that's what Eichner's got a chance to do right now. Is he's got a chance to go out there and prove, like, hey, look, I'm not just the third string in Imperium. I'm not just the guy that everybody claims tried to steal someone else's girl and that's why I got fired. Like, that's not me. I'm here to show you who I am, and I'm here to show you what I can do. So we'll see.
I gotta say, first and foremost, don't apologize for that slip, because sometimes you get knocked down, you get back up again. So you're tub thumping with this one. I see you, Roy. The other thing I do have to mention, to go on to your other point, Tiffany Stratton recently debunked on the stream that is not the reason why that happened. So I gotta say, this is why we tell you, don't believe everything you hear on the
exactly. And that's what I was about to say. That's even why I said, people saying, because Tiffany even came out and said it. Like, no, that's not why there was no animosity there. Like, even from the way that she was talking about it, it didn't sound like there was any heat between them or anything like that. It was just something happened. And I think when it comes to people being released or let go, fired, whatever the word you want to use, people try to find a reason. And if there's not a reason that they like, which would be, hey, this guy is not going to do anything. Because I'll go ahead and tell you, Giovanni Vinci was not getting over in main roster. They were disbanding Imperium anyways. He was not going anywhere. So instead of people realizing that, they had to come up with, oh man, he must have made somebody backstage really mad. It's like, no, they just got rid of him because he wasn't going to do anything. And now he's in TNA, and I think his ceiling is high. I think he's got a chance to actually do something in TNA and make people realize, oh, you know what? Fabian Aichner, he can wrestle. He is good. So
I think the best comparison I have to that, I always look at it like this. Ethan Cotta III, EC3, like towards the end of the Derek Bateman run in WWE, he finally wrestled Big E. He gets released. He has that haircut. He comes to TNA, and you're like, really? Derek Bateman, EC3, the nephew of Dixie Carter, and he got that over, like Rover. And hey, that just goes to tell you, some things may not work in NXT or main roster, but TNA took it over, and that's a perfect example of that. And speaking of perfect example of a star right now is the one, the only, Oba Femi, doing as only as he can do, strutting as only as he can strut. So he comes out this week for the Open Challenge. We saw him mollywop Berto and Angel, and we also saw him mollywop Otis. Great stuff. But then we get to this week. Then we see him going and he's doing the pose. Then Brock Lesnar makes his shocking return after losing to Oba at WrestleMania, after putting his boots down in the ring and everything. We think he's retired, gives him 4 F5s. We go to the back. Adam Pearce is just absolutely livid. Then we get to Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman's like, hey, Brock is retired, but he signed a contract to face Oba at Clash in Italy, so now the rematch is set. A lot of people online in the discourse it's like, hey, we already did this. That was a perfect send-off. Why are we doing this again? What were your thoughts on this, Roy? Because I got to tell you, I always loved the interaction between Oba and Brock. It's going to be a great build, but I'm like, that was such a perfect ending to WrestleMania. We don't need to do this again.
So, look, I could care less about the whole, retirement. Is he retired? Is he not retired? Everything like that. Me personally, I feel that WWE has grown beyond the need for Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
I said it, my brother is a very casual fan. He texted me when Oba made his debut on the main roster. He sent me a text and said, oh my God, is this guy the new Brock?
Wow.
And I sent him something back and said, no, if creative is good with this guy, he's going to be bigger than Hogan. From the day that I saw Oba in, I think it was even in LFG or what was it before it was LFG?
The Level Up show that they had.
Yes, Level Up. The first time I saw him was in Level Up. And the moment I saw him, I sent a message to a buddy of mine and said, this is the guy that is going to be the guy. And since that day, every time more and more people see Oba and start to get behind Oba, I'm like, hey, I was here first. Y'all got to get behind me because I knew this guy was going to be huge. Now, with the Brock situation, look, we don't need Brock anymore. Brock did his part. He was great during the Attitude Era. He was great during Ruthless Aggression, like all that stuff. We don't need him anymore. We've got guys like Oba. We've got guys, if given the right creative, like Otis. We've got Mason Rook in NXT. We've got these guys who are Brock Lesnar version 2. This is our new step in the evolution. So I'm hoping that at Clash in Italy, they just go ahead, have Oba win, send Brock on his way. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Brock gets the win back. They split it 50-50. And somehow or another, it ends up with Gunther beating Brock and retiring him, because I know that's one of those matches that Gunther's always wanted, is the Brock Lesnar match. But no, I agree with you. I think that was a perfect send-off. Everybody was shocked. That's the second time at a WrestleMania that at the end of a Brock Lesnar match, you saw people just like. So, yeah, that was a perfect ending. And now it's, well, he's got another match. It's like, come on, man. Just know when to fold him.
And know when to hold them. And I got to say, we definitely have to hold on the fact of just this again, because I've always said this, much like you with the Gunther match. People have been clamoring this for 5 years, even when Gunther was the Intercontinental Champion on SmackDown. And I think we're going to get that at SummerSlam in Minneapolis, and that'll be it for Brock. But it's like, with the 50-50 stuff that you mentioned, it kind of reminds me of when he faced Cody in 2023. Like, that would have even been a better send-off when he's hugging Cody at the end of SummerSlam. That would have been perfect. Another great send-off, but we're here. Brock Lesnar, look, I'm with you. We saw him in the Ruthless Aggression era. I got to tell you, I was there at Nassau Coliseum as a 10-year-old watching him beat The Rock. I was there at WrestleMania 20 with the infamous Bill Goldberg match. This man has had moments, and there's no denying his ability in UFC, WWE, amateur wrestling, NCAA champion. But I think this is the time and this is the period where, like you, I think he should definitely be done after Clash in Italy. I don't see it, but I got to tell you something. I think when it comes to Oba, he's going to be on the right trajectory. When it comes to Brock Lesnar, just send him off, put him in the Hall of Fame, and just put the kibosh on it. I'm done with Brock Lesnar, to be completely honest.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it is what it is. Like you said, just put him in the Hall of Fame. I think next year's class of Hall of Fame should be that OVW class. It should be Brock. It should be Batista, Cena, Orton. Go ahead and put those guys in together. That way they started together. They go in the hall together. They finish it up together. I don't see a problem in having those as your four guys going into the Hall of Fame next year.
I'm totally for that. I mean, it's legends and legacy all wrapped in one. And honestly, I cannot wait to discuss Hall of Fame and so many much more topics within this show. I got to tell you, Roy, this is going to be a fun journey for each and every one of us and each and every one of you that tune into this fine program each and every week. So that is the end of our debut edition. We hope you enjoyed this fine format and this fine discussion. If you want to check out this show, go to WFJAFM.com and go to SM Network shows for the YouTube. Hit the subscribe and definitely check out the website. The links will be in the description. And Roy, I will ask you before we close this thing out, do you have any socials that you would like to promote as well, or what are we thinking here, Roy?
I got to get my YouTube and stuff up and running, but right now, I'll talk about them next week. How about that? Keep everybody on their toes.
I feel you. You know what it is, Roy? I'm telling you, there's a little bit of swag to Mr. Roy Costin here. You're kind of like David Otunga, season 1 NXT. Just Google me. That's what it is. I'm putting it like that. Google me. Y'all better Google Roy.
Yeah, if you want to know what I'm up to, Google me. No, I stay off of socials for the most part, but this is going to get me back on them, I think.
Well, you are a smart man on that one. So everybody just collect and protect, not your neck like the Wu-Tang Clan, but protect yourself when it comes to social medias. But like I said, everything will be in the description, WFJFM.com, and so much more. We will see you next week for another edition of The Takedown. Thank you, Roy, and thank you each and every one for your support, and we'll see you next time. Take it down, bring it home. Yeah.